Hello everybody, my name is Storm, and right now you're looking at a little gray screen because I'm using the local recording from XSplit. This is going to be my application to Quantic as a caster or any type of, I guess, media that I can do for Quantic Media, just anything so I can get a part of that team, is my goal. So we're going to go ahead and start off. I would like to mention, though, really quick, that these games are random. I have not watched them. I got them from StarCraft 2 Replay. They were from May of last year, so they are a little bit behind. But it's going to be a TVT. I do have 3 replays to cast. I have a TVP and a TVZ as well. I went ahead and went with Terran because that is my main race, and that's the one I know the most about. So I figured that would be my best option whenever I'm applying here for Quantic. So yeah, we're going to get this game underway. We're going to see what type of metagame it is back here about a year ago. And see what these players are doing. We do have in the top, looks like 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock position, we have LzHFantaSy. And in the 6 o'clock position, we have ThisIsJimmy. Now, I do know a little bit about ThisIsJimmy. Very, very little, though. Like, I've seen his name around from Gosu Coaching, possibly, or he was some coach that I've seen, maybe on Zeke, I don't remember, but I know I've seen him around. LZH, I've heard of them, and I've also heard of Fantasy. I don't know too much about them, though. I'm still trying to kind of learn all that now that I'm getting into the competitive scene. Both players actually opting to wall off, which is quite interesting in TVT. There's some players that choose to get with the extra resources by putting the supply depots closer to the mineral patches so they don't lose too many resources by walking. Looks like actually Jimmy is putting his barracks a little bit behind, so he isn't going to wall off. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do with this placement here, but we will see. We do see that LzHFantaSy has put his back here. I've seen players do this, use supply depots as wall off, or put a bunker in the middle and then a supply depot. I've seen all different sorts of variations. So we do see both players actually getting gas. So we're not going to see the 1x fast expand, which is quite popular in TVT that I see right now. So yeah, I'm quite interested to see what they're going to go. If they're going to go for like a standard 1-1-1, maybe Siege Tank, Cloak Banshee. Just see what they're kind of doing. Let me actually go ahead and turn down the music. I feel like I'm being drowned out by that. Sorry about that. And I do have the Breed War sounds as well. I can change that if needed, but Breed War sounds are awesome nonetheless. So we do have the guys transferring into gas. Everything looking very, very similar. We do have Jimmy actually going for the depot, or I'm sorry, depot, orbital command at 15 rather than 16. So he is cutting an SCV a little bit earlier to get the faster mule out, which doesn't make too big of a difference, but you know, some players, it's just all personal preference here. We have a Marine being rallied over here to that scouting SCVs. SCV trying to see what's going on here. He is gonna. Oh, is he gonna be able to get that SCV before it goes out? No, it's gonna run away and get right outside the Marine's range, and it's gonna be able to survive with only 3 health remaining. Jimmy is going up here to scout to see what's going on with Fantasy. Unfortunately, not getting into the base, not being able to see if he took the gas or whatnot, or if there's Reapers coming, anything like that. So he did kind of need to get that information, but he did save the SCV as well. Right now, we do see a factory going down by ThisIsJimmy, and we see a factory going down by Fantasy. It looks like Jimmy just a bit ahead with everything, getting that factory. It's about 50%, while his is about 25%. So, yeah, just a little build looks a little bit more fried. We do have a second gas going down for both players, so I'm not sure what they're going to do. I mean, normally second gas indicates that you're going to go for Cloak She, is normally what I've seen, but again, this is also behind a little bit, so maybe it's different. Maybe they haven't. You know what I mean? Like, the Cloak Banshee build has been around for a very long time, but we'll see. We do see that there is a starport going down for ThisIsJimmy. Let's go over here to Fantasy's base and see what he's up to. See what he wants to do. I do like that reactor Hellion drop, but you don't need double gas for it. He is getting a tech lab on the factory and a starport going down. I do imagine a swap will be coming down soon. Actually, yeah, both players are going for the Cloak Banshees, it looks like. There is a scan going down by Fantasy, which is great, great timing. I'm going to actually go into ThisIsJimmy's camera really quick. He does not know that his opponent is actually going for the same exact build. We'll see if Fantasy is going to kind of change it up a little bit, instead get a Raven and maybe like an engineering bay for some turrets and just play more defensively, or if he's just going to go straight into the Cloak Banshees, or what he plans on doing here. I would imagine that he'd play a little bit more defensively since he knows that his opponent is doing the same exact thing. We do see an engineering bay on the production tab for Fantasy here, so he does want to play just a little bit more safer to deny the Banshees of ThisIsJimmy and be a little bit more ahead, which is great. We do see a bunker going down in ThisIsJimmy's base, so he's playing not to expand. It appears he just wants to go all in with this, maybe? I don't know. I mean, I guess that doesn't necessarily indicate it, but he wants to make sure that he's safe at home. He does have a tech lab going down on the factory, so he wants to get tanks out as well with this push. So this is going to be a very, very deadly push. We do see a scan going down for ThisIsJimmy, now seeing that his opponent also went for the Banshees. So he's not going to get a Raven, he's just going to get a Banshee. He's not actually researching Cloak because it's been spotted. He does have the gas for it, however, so maybe he just doesn't have the resources for it. Or we'll see. I'm going to actually follow this here Banshee by ThisIsJimmy, see where it's going at. It's too far away. We'll go back into the camera of Fantasy, see what he's up to. He has good marine positioning over here at the ramp. Engineering bay just kind of sitting here. He's also actually getting a tech lab on the factory. So with the standards that we have today, it's more of a macro game and who can play the greediest. And this is really funny because they're both one basing. So they're doing like the same exact build. So it's interesting to see how the metagame changes over and over and over. So we do have the tech lab finishing for the factory here. We're going to look at ThisIsJimmy. He does have the tech lab still finished. No siege tanks out yet. There is a Raven coming out for ThisIsJimmy. It felt like he didn't have enough time for turrets, maybe? No, he got the turrets. He just want to get that Raven. So that's good. He does have an auto turret down here just to stop that Banshee from coming up here and being pesky. We do have a expansion coming down somewhere. Maybe he's... Oh, okay. The Marines are in hold position, so he wasn't able to get out. Now he's going to run into the Banshee of ThisIsJimmy. ThisIsJimmy also actually doesn't have Cloak. So, yeah, neither player's opting to go for the Cloak, even though they went for really, really early double gas. I guess that's for the tanks. We do see a tech lab going down on the barracks of ThisIsJimmy. I'm not sure if he knew that he was going to expand or not, if he saw that Fantasy was planning on expanding. That Banshee just kind of rallying around over here. And we do have another Banshee over here for Fantasy coming back home. I'm not sure why he decided to go back home so early, probably because of the Viking and the Raven. So, wants to keep that alive as long as possible. We do have Stim being started by ThisIsJimmy, and he's also expanding behind it, and his expansion's a little bit faster than Fantasy's. Oh wait, I'm sorry, his is actually in the main, so no, it's not. But he is getting a turret up here. Now we're going to transition into more of a macro-based game. At the 9-minute, finally, naturals are going down for both players, and that's kind of how mirror matchups work. I mean, it's like, am I safe to expand? Am I not safe? Was he expanded? Well, am I? You know, you got to make sure that you're safe to do so. Otherwise, it can be very, very deadly. We do have a scouting SCV out here for LzHFantaSy. He does have control of the Xel'Naga Tower at the north, but not at the south. Xel'Naga Towers are very, very important for TVT. You have to know where your opponent is, or if you're running into a siege tank line, or what you're running into, you have to know. Map control is very, very important in almost all mirror matchups. Actually, in all mirror matchups, you have to know where your opponent is and what he plans on doing. Now, because ThisIsJimmy was able to build his command center at the ramp, even though it was later, he's going to be able to get his command center out earlier than LzHFantaSy because it takes about 10-15 seconds for it to float all the way from the main to the natural. He is transferring SCVs over to his natural now, and we're going to see how they're going to transition, if they're going to go for bio, which it looks like ThisIsJimmy is going for like a biomech, marine tank, medevac type play. And we do have two Banshees still for Fantasy, just kind of out there. He looks like he's actually doing the same exact thing. Now it looks like he's not actually getting a reactor on this barracks, just kind of keeping it naked for right now, just making the Marines out of it while he can. We do have turrets up for ThisIsJimmy, just for those cloaked Banshees out. Normally I'd see like players put their turrets around the base in like a little circle, but I think that's too much in this early game. They need it in the mineral patch, just in case these Banshees try to be annoying. So LzHFantaSy is just keeping him inside his base because he does know about the Raven. He also knows about turrets. He must have seen the engineering bay, so he just wants to keep those back, and he'll use them for DPS. Banshees do a lot of DPS. So we do have another barracks being thrown down by ThisIsJimmy. Just now getting a reactor over here on this barracks. Like I said, it seems like Fantasy's just one step behind ThisIsJimmy. Now go to the unit counting station. ThisIsJimmy sitting at 44 supply, or I'm sorry, 45 SCVs is what I meant. 3 tanks, so the tank number's even. He has more Marines, a Raven, but he has less Vikings. So technically Fantasy does have the air control right here, so he can get vision with his tanks to be able to shoot the tanks that ThisIsJimmy wouldn't be able to see. But the Raven also does have point of hit shards and auto turrets, so I don't know. We'll see how this works. There is a drop over here in the main that I unfortunately missed, but we are going to see the Marines. Oh, they're target firing the Banshees, not the Banshee going down. It is going to be able to get repaired. He's trying to kill as much as he can with the drop because he did lose the medevac. Going to go to the resources lost. It looks like 600 to 1,000 inside of Fantasy's favor. Looks like Fantasy just kind of sitting around now. I'm not sure if he's going to be making a push or what. It looked like he was about to, because he hasn't been sieging up or anything. ThisIsJimmy just kind of sitting here with his tanks, just playing defensively, trying to get as many SCVs as he possibly can. It looks like Fantasy's actually taking a third right now. Feels safe to doing that, and the supplies are actually even as well. This game has been pretty much on par this entire game, but also you have to keep in mind that ThisIsJimmy did drop a medevac, so he lost 10 supply from that. So we do have a push coming over here from the north for Fantasy. Going to go check the third, I'd imagine, and then go hit from the third. ThisIsJimmy actually unsieging his tanks now. I guess he was wanting to make a push of his own, but I don't know if he actually saw this force or not. It doesn't look like he did. I'm not sure. We do have Vikings over here. Vikings are very, very good. You want to have air control so that your tanks can get vision, as I mentioned earlier. Marines stemming up. Siege tanks not sieged, but they are getting sieged, and he's going to lose a lot of Marines here. ThisIsJimmy trying to back out. Now the tanks are moving in to siege up. The Vikings are target firing the Raven now. The Raven just now throwing down a points defense drone. Vikings are going to kill it off before it can do too much. And now the siege tanks have complete vision. The Marines are trying to kill these Vikings here, but the tanks just getting control of that ramp. They're going to slowly leapfrog themselves up and get vision of these tanks here, and possibly the third. So it looks really, really bad for ThisIsJimmy. I hate being contained. I think he can actually hold this off because there are no Marines for Fantasy. There are only tanks and Vikings. So if he can get rid of the Vikings and hopefully somehow get the tanks, then yeah, I think ThisIsJimmy should be able to break this contain. It's just right now it's doing a lot of damage, but he's just kind of throwing away his Marines and tanks right there, trying to split them up as best as he can. He is killing 1, 2, 3, 4 tanks going down, now taking his third. He's third at about half health. It looks like the Fantasy was going to reinforce, but decided against it now. Not too much of a force, though, for Fantasy, I've noticed. Like, his numbers are very, very small. ThisIsJimmy's macro seems to be just a little bit ahead. But, you know, I mean, if Fantasy can keep up those contains and do very, very, I guess, tactical engagements is what I'm wanting to say. I just could not think of the word right there. Then I think he can pull himself a win here. We do see the third up and running for Fantasy, now transferring a lot of SCV, so now it's fully saturated. Jimmy's is just now being saturated as well. It looks like now Fantasy has pulled himself ahead in the harvester count, and now he's going into macro mode after he did that little engagement here. He's kind of actually broke. He's keeping everything really, really low, especially his minerals. He uses a lot of reactors here. Now he's actually going to make another little poke. I like his Viking count a lot. ThisIsJimmy has actually he's made like 1 Viking this entire game. So he's not going to be able to get air control. But, I mean, with these amount of Marines, who needs it? You don't have tanks. So he's going into like a bio medevac play with no tanks. And he is getting, it looks like +1/+1. It was timed out. We're going to look at the upgrades here. It's actually 1-0, so ThisIsJimmy does have a resource advantage. Looks like Fantasy was going to take his 4th, but unfortunately it had to be canceled because of the amount of Marines. Marines killing a SCV here. The tanks are sieging up, leapfrogging, getting very good positioning here. The Marine count for Fantasy is overwhelming compared to Jimmy, and Jimmy now losing all of his Marines. Wow. And now sending reinforcements in. The reinforcements are getting shot at by the tanks. Forced to pull back. He did get forced to cancel on the 4th, but at what cost? I don't believe it was good enough. We do see +2 is actually being researched. The +2 weapons is almost finished, and now armor is about halfway completed. So ThisIsJimmy looking at a very, very solid upgrade advantage, at least by 1. Compared to Fantasy. But with these siege tank numbers, I think that ThisIsJimmy is looking at a very, very big problem here. He has no tanks of his own. Actually, he has 1, I'm sorry. He's backing out. He's not going to be able to engage that. There's way too many Marines. Yeah, with the tank support, I mean, he's not going to be able to engage right there. He needs to kind of pull back and kind of regroup his army, get a more tank count, more heavy tank count, because that's a lot of tanks by Fantasy, and that can be very problematic here. Looks like that siege tank just out of range here from these Marines. The Marines going up to the gold to try and kill off these Vikings. If he can kill off the Vikings, he can get rid of the vision that Fantasy has, which would be very, very, very substantial. It looks like Fantasy's actually choosing to back out here, deciding, oh, this is kind of a stalemate. I don't need to do this. Now a scan going by ThisIsJimmy. Going to kill the Vikings. The Vikings are in hold position. All of the Vikings going down by Fantasy. Not very good. He needs those Vikings for the air superiority that he had. a scan going down by Fantasy to see where the army is, what it is, and what if he can take it. Now the supplies are kicking into Fantasy. Fantasy is actually, yeah, he went into straight up macro mode. That was crazy. Now he went from like being really, well, not really far behind, but behind, to being broke and up ahead by like 40 supply. He is going to go straight for that third command center. The third command center is a planetary fortress. However, the siege tanks can't outrange it. See, the Marines just have to pull back and go to hold position. And the reinforcements for ThisIsJimmy are completely out of position. He's trying to take a gold base as his fourth and trying to do as much damage as he can while Fantasy's army is out of position. We're going to look for the reinforcements. This tank is not sieged up. It's going to siege up right here at the third. But it looks like Jimmy's army is going straight towards the natural, scanning the main. Wow, he's going to encourage like a base trade. The third is going down for Jimmy, and Jimmy is pushing towards the natural. There is a tank sieged up, but unfortunately that is way too many Marines doing as much damage as they possibly can, target firing that engineering bay. Oh, but decided not to. There is a tank up on the high ground. They're going to stem up and be able to kill off that tank. I'm not sure if Fantasy's going to actually try and kill this or go for a base trade. It looks like a base trade. I'm not sure if he knows about the gold base. Actually, he does. He does have an SCV over at the Zelnaga Tower. More Marines being brought in by ThisIsJimmy to help reinforce with this. But I'm not sure who's going to win it, guys. This is actually really close. There are tanks sieging up from the natural Marines into the main. They are going to be dancing here pretty soon. I'm not sure what is going to happen. We do see a liftoff by Fantasy going over towards that close by air position to try and keep that base alive as long as he can. There are tanks, SCVs, and Marines, but I don't feel like this is enough. There's a lot of Marines by ThisIsJimmy. I'm not sure if Fantasy knows what he's doing. He's trying to decide what to do, but he doesn't know. He's going to go, scans that the gold base is up and running, and he's going to be able to kill that siege tank and the planetary fortress. There is a floating command center over here by ThisIsJimmy. Wow. So both players are just going to float over other bases to another location. This Jimmy, however, floating into the corner. So yeah, we're going to see how this is going to turn out. This is Fantasy's army is actually looking pretty small. There's a lot of tanks, but if the Marines can catch them out of position, then that can be very good for Jimmy, because siege tanks, Marines are very good. However, there were two tanks behind the cloud. Oh, wow, that was brilliant by Fantasy, sitting behind this fog right here so that they couldn't see the siege tanks, losing a lot of Marines. So now I feel like this army right here that Fantasy has is much bigger than Jimmy's. So if he can defend this third base, which he does have two tanks and a handful of Marines over here with some barracks, not necessarily producing. They need to be producing more army so that they can defend. But yeah, if he can defend this third base, then he's going to look in very good position, lifting off an orbital command, getting a factory with a tech lab. There's two bunkers up and running, two tanks, and he has again a handful of Marines. So yeah, ThisIsJimmy looking very good right here. Not able to multitask quite as good. He's just trying to do what he can, but there's so much going on. Trying to get his bases up and running, make sure his macros staying up so that he can indeed win this game. The Marines and tanks are pushing forward to the main of ThisIsJimmy. Looking over, he has a refinery here, that command center right there, and this is his main, and it's going to get demolished here. He does have all the SCVs, though, at the main of Fantasy, so I'm not sure if he's going to try and expand there. He does have 400 minerals to do so, so if he wants, he can expand at the main of Fantasies, although the minerals are pretty much gone. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's deciding to do. He does know that the third base is up and running, for sure. He just doesn't know if he wants to engage it or not. I think he's going to wait for a scan, maybe? I'm not sure what he's waiting for. Both players here just kind of deciding what to do. Their minds are like boggled. They're like, I am not sure how I'm going to be able to pull off this win, but I think Fantasy is looking very good here. Did get a really good scan off, knowing exactly where Jimmy's army is. He needs to siege up this tank here, though. He is supply blocked, unfortunately. Moving the tanks over. Oh, checking the fourth over here by Jimmy, so if he can siege up those tanks in time, perfect timing. Jimmy did know that there was a bunker, apparently. I'm going to check his vision really quick. Actually, yeah, he did. He's running over here with the SCVs, tanks getting firing on the Marines and the SCVs. All of the SCVs going down. Marines trying to kill more of the Marines, but unfortunately, Jimmy has too many Marines. We do have the force from Fantasy pulling back, and he does have this base up and running, getting muled like crazy. Now, ThisIsJimmy trying to target fire the command center now. I'm not sure what's going on, man. Fantasy is trying to pull his army back to be able to deal with this, and if he can, I think he'll be okay. But I think the Fantasy really needed the space up and running. The bunkers are unloaded. He could salvage those to get a little bit more money, even though he's floating 2K. I'm not sure. Is there any SCVs over here, actually? Oh, unfortunately, there's not. This was all of his SCVs, so he's not able to build anything. Any supply depots, any supply box. So he's gonna have to trade armies here. Stemming the Marines up front. The siege tanks are sieged up, killing a lot of Marines here. This is Jimmy's force. I'm going into the medevacs. At the Marines kill the medevacs. Oh, not killing the ones that were loaded up though, unfortunately. So this is Jimmy still looking into this game. We do actually have two SCVs here by Fantasy, and he does have 2.3k. So if he uses those SCVs, he can start making command centers around the map and still get into this game. I just really hope he does it. All he's building right now is a supply depot. I'm not sure where he's focusing his attention at. I'm going to go into his cam. He's just kind of looking around. Trying to make a depot right here, but running into the Marines of This Is Jimmy, salvaging the bunkers. The tanks aren't able to fit past the bunkers. Oh, but there's a lot of Marines. I'm not sure who's going to win this. There's too many medevacs. He needs to siege up those tanks. Siege up the tanks. Siege up the tanks. Fantasy, no, deciding not to siege up the tanks. Losing a lot of Marines right there. Right now he is not supply blocked, so he's looking in a good position. There is one Marine killing that Vespene Geyser here, and there is also a depot right here for Jimmy, and still that command center floating around. So Fantasy does need to get some Vikings up and running if he plans on winning this game. Building a barracks over here behind the fog. Jimmy sitting here with about, looks like 12 Marines. Am I right? I'm saying that? Yep. Okay, looks like 12 Marines here. For This Is Jimmy, and I mean, he's running out of buildings, but I don't know. I mean, it's taken Fantasy a very long time to get himself back up and running. I think he just wants to secure the space while he gets a Viking, or just rebuild his force. I'm not sure what his thought process right now. There are Marines trying to target fire all the buildings, doing as much damage as they possibly can. There are two depots here at the Zelnaga Tower for Fantasy. So yeah, we do have the tank force for Fantasy moving over towards his third base, because he does know the Marines are there, but unfortunately This Is Jimmy is on 3-3. He only has 1-0, and there's 3 medevacs here. I don't think he should engage this with just the tanks. He actually could lose. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he is sieging up just 3. He's just gonna slowly leapfrog because he doesn't know where the army is. Sieging up, or stemming up some Marines here, getting another siege tank sieged up. Oh, another one running in the Marines into the siege tanks. The Marines are getting shot at. Only 3 Marines left, and looks like Fantasy has 4 more, trying to kill as many as he can, but there are 3 Marines. There's the GG by This Is Jimmy, and this is the end of the game. Well, apparently, are they going to end it? There we go. Wow, okay, so that was a crazy game. I did make some mistakes, but I am very, very nervous. I'm trying to get past that nervousness, but thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked it. Please let me know. Thank you guys for considering me, and I'm going to let you go. We'll go into the next game.